In the last 4 years with the agency, I was an analyst with the International Communism Branch.
Paramilitary operations where?
In Thailand and to a degree in Vietnam.
How do you view the CIA? Let me rephrase that question. A good many of us do not have a clear picture of what the CIA does. I think many of us believe it is an intelligence gathering agency, that it gets information, that information becomes intelligence, and then it passes it on to key areas in the government. Is that an accurate impression?
No, it isn't. It's my view, and it's supportable by all the evidence we can see in the Church Committee report and the Pike Committee report and other collateral information. The CIA is not an intelligence agency. It's a covert action agency. Covert action being overthrowing or supporting foreign governments. Another part of covert action is disinformation. And the American people, in my estimation, are the primary target audience of the agency's disinformation operation.
We had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
So I was looking around on YouTube and I noticed that conspiracy videos are really popular right now, but they're usually silly ones like aliens and all that. So I found myself on Reddit looking, and I found this CIA iceberg of all of the covert operations that the CIA has done over the years, and I decided I would make a video series going over it all. It'll be 7 videos probably in total, and you can see that I didn't make this iceberg, but the neon green entries are theories, and so the like olive green ones are verifiable facts. So for like this first iceberg video will have no theories. This is all true stuff that actually happened. And I'm only going to go over the basic facts of everything, because that would take, 20 hours to go through in depth through all of these. And so I know some of you will know a lot more about some things than others, and if I mess something up, just tell me in the comments, and I'll amend my error in the next episode. But complete transparency here. The green ones are theories, the olive green ones are fact. And so today we're going to be going over only facts. So obviously it's important to know these things because real conspiracies do exist. It's just not the silly ones, but the CIA does perpetrate covert operations that technically fall under the definition of conspiracy. Alright, so the first entry on our iceberg is Air America. Air America was an American passenger and cargo airline company covertly owned by the CIA from 1950 to 1976. the CIA used Air America to smuggle drugs in order to fund their wars out of Laos during the Vietnam War. You should look it up, really. Most of these things you should look up. I'm just going to give you the baseline idea of what's going on here, and you should look into it more. And so, on the secret war on Laos, the U.S. dropped almost 3 million tons of ordnance between 1965 and 1973. And more bombs were dropped on Laos during the Vietnam War era than all bombs the U.S. dropped in World War II. And Laos is not a large country. So to this day, 50 people are maimed or killed every year in Laos from civilians stepping on unexploded bombs from that era. So yeah, this video is really that bad. And this is only the start. So prepare yourself. So the next entry is disposition matrix. And this is referring to the American kill list, which is what it sounds like. A database for tracking, capturing, or killing suspected enemies of the United States. I mean, there's not much more to this. I believe the Obama administration made this an official thing for the CIA. And so the next entry on our list is the Castro assassination attempts. And this one's pretty straightforward. Cuba estimates that the CIA tried 638 separate times over the years to kill Fidel Castro, and all were unsuccessful. These attempts included poisoned or exploding cigars, an infected scuba diving suit, booby-trapped conch shell, as well as old-fashioned mafia-style execution attempts. Pretty much any way you could think about killing someone, the CIA tried it on Fidel Castro, but turns out he just can't be stopped.
Está protegido con su traje.
¿Cuál traje?
What suit?
Everybody says you always have
Sé que todo el mundo dice que usted tiene un chaleco a prueba de balas.
No. No. Voy a desembarcar así en Nueva York.
I will land in New York like this.
Tengo un
I will
chaleco.
land in New York like this.
Tengo un chaleco moral.
I have a moral one.
A moral
A
vest.
moral vest.
Qué fuerte.
It's strong.
Alright, black sites. So in 2006, George Bush admitted that the U.S. used black sites in the wars in the Middle East. A CIA black site is a covert prison in which prisoners are not charged with a crime and have no legal recourse, but who are held illegally sort of as prisoners of war. Many think that these black sites are only used in the American War on Terror, but there are actually CIA black sites in countries such as Poland and Romania as well. Watergate is when then-President Richard Nixon attempted to cover up his role in the June 17, 1972 break-in of the DNC headquarters in Washington, D.C. But what you might not know is that one of the 5 burglars were being paid by the CIA, and upon his arrest, the CIA withheld information about him from federal prosecutors. What this entry really means is that the CIA was spying on the White House at the time and tried to hide that fact. So this was a secret project by the CIA to intercept mail being sent to the Soviet Union and China, with their stated purpose of obtaining foreign intelligence. But the interesting part of this program is that the CIA used it to spy on domestic peace activists and civil rights leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr. and even people like John Steinbeck. So pretty much if the CIA wants to, they will spy on you and read your mail. So a black budget is a classified government budget used for secret and covert operations. So we discussed earlier how Air America was used to smuggle drugs out of Laos and Thailand. Well, the profits from that drug smuggling would then be put back into their covert operations and essentially be a part of their black budget, which is an undisclosed amount of money they use to do shit. And this is the one I was referencing earlier about it being really bad about violence, so maybe skip to a time I'll mark on the screen if you don't want to hear this one, because it's really bad. So the Contras were various right-wing rebel groups funded by the CIA to fight the Marxist Sandinista government in Nicaragua. Contra is short for counter-revolutionary. Part of the Contra strategy was to frequently carry out terrorist attacks and atrocities. They followed CIA warfare strategies such as inciting mob violence, executing civilian leaders and government officials, as well as attacking soft targets including schools, nurses, and cooperative leaders in their terroristic war on the country. So, yeah, the CIA really did this kind of stuff. So, Human Rights Watch released a report on the situation in 1989, which stated, quote, "The Contras were major and systematic violators of the most basic standards of the law of armed conflict, including by launching indiscriminate attacks on civilians, selectively murdering non-combatants, and mistreating prisoners." And so the most horrible things human beings are capable of was encouraged and directly funded by the CIA and the White House in Nicaragua. And to put the real cherry on top of this, like, shit sandwich, the US was funding Contra drug traffickers, which played an important role in the creation of the crack cocaine problem in the US. So all around, this is just horrible. Hopefully YouTube doesn't take my video down for this, but this entrance is referring to the fake vaccination program the CIA ran in Pakistan. So they started a hepatitis, I think, B vaccine program in Pakistan for children, but they were actually collecting DNA evidence from the children in order to link Osama bin Laden to the area. So they weren't giving vaccinations, they were collecting DNA. It's pretty messed up. Hopefully YouTube's not watching for this one, but from inception, Google was financed and helped along by groups sponsored by the CIA. So, for example, Google received funding from the Massive Digital Data Systems Initiative, which is a project sponsored by the NSA and the CIA. And during Google's creation, the creator, Brin, regularly briefed the CIA on his progress. There are more concrete examples of the CIA being involved in Google, such as in 2003, Google began customizing their search engine under a specific contract with the CIA, as well as Google giving the CIA special privileges and insights in their Google mapping. So Radio Free Asia is a news agency funded by the CIA which exists to promote US-backed narratives in Asia and broadcast it in Asian languages. So there's nothing much to this one. Just, if you see an article by Radio Free Asia, know that this whole organization's role is to promote American interests and denigrate American enemies, so take it with a hefty grain of salt. So this one's pretty straightforward. The CIA works with Hollywood to show their agency how they want to be portrayed. And this usually works by trading positive portrayals of the CIA for special access and favors to their facilities and their knowledge. So this topic is easily researched and kind of easy to understand, considering how many war movies and like spy shit there is out there. But I'll just quote an Atlantic article. So, quote, "With few exceptions, Hollywood has long functioned as a propaganda machine, churning out jingoistic revenge fantasy films in which American audiences are allowed to exercise their post-9/11 demons by watching the satisfying slaughter of countless on-screen jihadists. This never-ending parade of square-jawed secret agents and bearded, pumped-up commandos pitted against swarthy Muslim madmen straight out of central casting has been aided and abetted by a newly emboldened CIA all too happy to offer its, quote, services to Hollywood." As far as I can tell, this is mainly just Air America before it was Air America, so it's an airline company owned by the CIA used in covert actions in Asia, such as helping the Nationalist Army in China or helping the French in Vietnam, I believe. So, extraordinary rendition is the transfer without legal progress of a detainee to the custody of a foreign government for purposes of detention and interrogation. So essentially, this is the CIA program to capture, kidnap assumed terrorists and detain them illegally, often torturing them, or as the CIA likes to use, quote, enhanced interrogation techniques. So a CIA officer told the Washington Post that, quote, They picked up the wrong people who had no information. In many cases, there was only some vague association with terrorism. So yeah, terrorism bad, but without a legal process, I mean, isn't that just another form of terrorism? So this is the CIA-owned news agency that operates in Europe. So they operate in Europe as opposed to Radio Free Asia, which targets Asian countries. And so to really illustrate to you how much the CIA doesn't care about the truth or morality at all, they used actual Nazi propagandists to work on their new propaganda arm, like real actual Nazis. So apparently the CIA thought their news agency can benefit from an experienced Nazi propagandist. So what does that really tell you? The National Student Association was a CIA-funded confederation of college and university student governments in operation from 1947 to 1978. Not much more too interesting about this one, just the CIA covertly funding student organizations trying to influence young people. So, the CIA likes to fund organizations, likes to get its tentacles everywhere so it can get a pulse on people and use that funding to influence how people think. So this is not Operation Mockingbird, which we'll get to in another video. This is Project Mockingbird. Project Mockingbird, which was a wiretapping operation to identify the sources of government leaks by spying on journalists. So incredibly illegal, but it doesn't seem that the CIA is particularly interested in the legality of their covert operations. So this is pretty well known, so I won't spend much time on it. The Bay of Pigs was an attempt to overthrow Fidel Castro and the newly formed revolutionary government in Cuba using Cuban exiles trained by the CIA to storm the Cuban beaches. The CIA thought that once the invasion began, there would be an uprising throughout Cuba to overthrow Castro, but when you have the ungodly Chad energy that Fidel had, the CIA stood no chance.
Entendemos los revolucionarios cubanos nuestro deber internacionalista. Así entiende nuestro pueblo sus deberes, porque entiende que el enemigo es uno, el mismo que nos ataca a nosotros en nuestras costas y en nuestras tierras, el mismo que ataca a los demás. Y por eso decimos y proclamamos que con combatientes cubanos podrá contar el movimiento revolucionario en cualquier rincón de la tierra.
The Congress for Cultural Freedom was an anti-communist cultural organization aimed at winning the support of Soviet-sympathetic people to the American side. So there's not much else here. It's obvious that the CIA would be involved in the funding of anti-communist organizations everywhere, and they've got a lot of money in their black budget to work with, so they fund a Cultural Freedom Congress. Last in this video today is Crypto AG. So Crypto AG was a covertly CIA-funded company trusted by governments all over the world for communicating with their spies and soldiers. So it was a company that you could use to code your secrets so that only your spies and your soldiers would know what you were talking about. But the CIA is on record saying, quote, "Foreign governments were paying good money to the US and West Germany for the privilege of having their most secret communications read by at least 2 and possibly as many as 5 or 6 foreign countries." So yeah, they used this company to hear everything. But China and the Soviet Union never used Crypto AG's services, so the CIA was essentially spying on all their allies. Alright, so that's it for the first installment. If this gets a lot of views or something, or some views, I'll make sure to make the rest of the list. I'll definitely make a second part at least, because I'm already researching for it. But yeah, if you could share this to anyone who thinks the CIA is a benevolent organization, go ahead. Now, I know there are some who are going to watch this video and who are going to want me to go in on examples of how, let's say, Radio Free Asia just pumps out a bunch of bullshit that everyone ends up believing about, like China or North Korea or something, and I understand that. I mean, those of you who know these things already know it, though, and I'm trying to reach a broader audience here. I'm trying to get the more people to understand just the kind of crimes the CIA has committed over the years. So if I'm not going as in depth in these videos as you would like, or I'm not bringing up specific, more political examples of things going on, just know that I'm trying to reach a broader audience. But again, if anybody has any questions or any corrections they would like me to make, just leave it in the comments. I guarantee you I'll respond to you. There's no engagement on this channel yet, so if you leave anything in the comments, I'll respond. But yeah, subscribe and wait for part 2. It should be coming soon, and the rest of the parts on these Iceberg are more crazy stuff, I think, looking at it, so it should get more and more interesting as we go along. Thanks for watching till the end.